This is Tampa Bay Today at Money Talk 1010 a.m. I am Schreiner, along with our executive producer, Pat George, our ongoing conversation on the topics of the day. And usually, we get into the news, the politics, the social media trends, all those other things. But on Fridays, we have started something that we call the Business Roundup. And it's an opportunity for us to bring in some of the professionals here at Beasley Media Group and talk to the various departments about how we can really convert your business into a brand, into a popular and usable product or service, have customers coming to you. And it's a win for all of us because it's a great topic to opportunity to bring up various topics because there are so many different ways that we can utilize the resources and the talent pool that we have to help your business succeed as well. So Jay Mulligan, once again, our General Sales Manager, welcome to the show.
Good to be here.
And we've also got Ali Ahmed joining us today, really more on the digital side of things. And I'm pretty excited to have you here as well. So thank you for taking the time out of your schedule to join us.
Yeah, thank you. Glad to be here.
Ali is the digital director of digital for right. Beasley Media Group. And we want to talk about some of the ways that will impact advertising campaigns, marketing, et cetera. What's the best way to describe your job here at Beasley Media Group before we start getting into some of the questions?
Yeah, sure. So, obviously we have a lot of assets here. So there's the whole on-air portion, there's our events, there's our programming, and I kind of am in charge of leading the whole digital portion. So everything online, whether it's Google, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, and when you do a search on your phone, you start seeing stuff pop up afterwards, and sometimes you think that Facebook is listening to you, and you see all those ads.
I do. No, I'm convinced. Yeah. You're not going to be able to convince me that these things that I have on my phone are not listening to me right now, because how else, when I haven't touched my phone or done a search for anything, does it pop up?
Yep.
It's not a conspiracy theory. It's conspiracy fact for me. But a lot of people do see that. But a lot of it's because of our habits online can be picked up and algorithms created that are very, very personally targeted. Our data and what we do is out there.
Yeah, exactly. So it depends on what you searched for in the past. It depends on what websites you're visiting. It even depends on what locations you've been in. So if you know you've been to a Bucks game, we can target that and then start serving you ads for Bucks gear. So there's lots of different ways that you can do it.
I remember the first time I saw it in a movie where the ads were targeted as somebody walked by a storefront, it recognized who they were and put an ad specifically targeted to them in the window. There was no more, all the window shopping we used to do. You had, the mannequins in the window displaying the wares of the store. Well, this was targeting with video ads directly at each person that passed by.
Yeah.
So those are things that, we're seeing because we now have it in our pockets and they're being targeted to us directly. Things I never thought I would need until it told me, you need this. Maybe exactly. I do. Yep. All right. So, Jay, do you have anything on how you work with Ali and how the two departments come together?
We all work together with, sorry. Shrina, you're distracting me, man.
Sorry, man. I'm trying to give some well, now that you've done it, pull back the curtain. I just told Ali to get a little closer to the mic.
So, we all work together. We're one big happy team here. So our sales team works directly with Ali to help put together campaigns to help businesses grow.
Right.
So the campaigns that we put together a lot of times have radio included, they have digital included, they have events included. The reason for that is we reach audiences a bunch of different ways, right? So there's not one way that might be necessarily better than the other. A lot of times when you use a bunch of tactics together, that's where the sweet spot is.
Right, because not only, with radio, we can cover an entire market, but digital, we can geofence and really target demographics and geography based upon what the customer's needs are. So, Ali, what would be an average customer for you? Or even is there an average customer coming through to Beasley Media Group to advertise for digital?
No, I think it's everybody across the board, right? It could be home services, it could be a car dealership, it could be, retail or e-commerce or anything like that. So I think everybody, if your customer is on a phone, if they're online, if they're anything, that's our customer right there. That's our client because that's who you're trying to reach is everybody through their phones and their computers. As they're researching things, they're trying to figure out who to use, what kind of car to buy, who should I call for my plumbing. All of those things are related to not only radio, as Jay mentioned, but digital. You're trying to reach them right there when they're actively searching for it.
Now, you mentioned that advertisers should put themselves in the shoes of the consumer. So what exactly does that mean? And then what will that look like for an advertiser? How do they do that?
Yeah, sure. So I think a lot of the times, as somebody who's advertising, you may almost have an unfair bias of what you expect your customer to do, right? So you'll say, oh, okay, I'm measuring the success of my campaign on form fills. So I want everybody to go through and they're going to fill out this form of 10 different things on my website, and that's how I'm measuring the whole success of my campaign. Well, I think if you look at it from the other perspective, that's not really a fair metric to measure a success of a marketing campaign, right? So, for example, how many times do you think you've filled out a form in your life, really?
Maybe less than 10.
Yeah.
I mean, this is not something, generally, I don't want people to know who I am and how to find me. Not that I'm, trying to be a hermit and avoid the world. I just didn't, from the very beginning, want too much of my information out there.
Yeah. And what was it that caused you to fill out that form? Like, what enticed you?
Only if I had a specific need for it and I wanted more, or if the offer or the giveaway was enough that I thought this is something, or if it was a brand I was already passionate about and I wanted to support them. So those were some of the ways that I would get involved. Like with bands, if they were doing something in the music world and I was a big fan of Sister Hazel, I would get involved in some of the things they were where I wouldn't give it to somebody else.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's a great example. That's actually the last form I filled out too. It was like a free VIP fly away to Bonnaroo or something like that, right? So it was a great offer. Something I wanted to go to, so it really enticed you there. But when's the last time you filled out a form for just a plumber, just for them to have access to your...
I filled out something for Johnny Walker, but,
exactly.
that's about it.
Yeah, but
that was something, a brand and a product that I'm familiar with, and they had something that I wanted to be involved with. But for a plumber, no. For an HVAC, no. For a car dealer, no.
Exactly. You're more likely to call in that scenario, right? So I think when you're looking at that kind of campaign, unless you... say you're retail and you're offering a 30% off if you fill out this form off your first order, or as we talked about, something free with a concert or whatever it is, unless you have something like that, I don't think a form fill is necessarily the best way to measure the success of your campaign.
Well, then what would be a good way? What's the opposite then? What is a great way to measure success? And the problem is here, I think it's going to be the rest of the conversation, multifaceted. There's lots of ways to measure success, and you have to look at them cumulative.
Exactly, yeah. So it's going to completely depend on what industry you're in and all those things. So, if you're a plumber, you want obviously more calls, but there's a lot of time that it takes to get to that call, to that conversion, right? So sometimes you'll be advertising for months and getting in front of people for months before they decide that they need you and it's time for them to actually give you that call, right? So, one example is Coca-Cola. So that's a huge brand, obviously. You see a lot of ads for them all the time. But when's the last time you saw an ad for Coca-Cola and then got in the car right then and there?
Never.
Drove to the store and picked it up right then.
Not once.
Yeah.
Not once. It's just a general brand awareness. And then, of course, they have multifacets to reach people as well. It's not just the TV, the radio, the print, the billboards. When you get in the store, they're paying premium to be placed at eye level.
Exactly.
And larger sections.
Yep. But you saw that ad, and then next time you went to the grocery store...
I remember them.
Now you're saying, okay, now
I got to get a Coke today.
Yeah, so same thing for home services. You see the ads for... maybe an AC company or whatever, but you don't need it until your air conditioning actually goes out.
Well, it's interesting. We see a lot of AC companies work with us because they want to push in a time of the year when there's not that high demand. People put it off. I don't need it now. It's December. I'll make it through till it's hot. Well, guess what? Then they're going to be busy and packed. So they try to advertise in certain times of the year when they have more freedom to be able to respond to clients. So there's all kinds of times to have that brand awareness and then when to push. It's time to have you as the consumer reach out to us.
Yeah, exactly. So there's certain things where, maybe there's a storm coming around, right?
Okay.
So if you're a roofer, you're saying, I'm going to push this out to let people know, make sure their roof is repaired before this storm comes around. So in that case, it makes more sense to have that out. But for the most part, they don't need you until they need you.
Right, or if there's a storm and something lands and there's damage and now you need a tree taken out, you need a roofer. If you remember somebody who was marketing leading up to it, then you're going to be ready to go, I know who to call. I got a guy.
Yep.
We all want to be the guy that somebody has in mind, and that's what marketing and brand recognition does for us. So it can take time, and it's all about the timing that we're doing and, of course, the locations as well, which and I mentioned geofencing and being able to target demographics and all that, how much of that plays into digital?
A ton of it, right? So you might have certain consumers within certain neighborhoods that you're trying to reach.
Right.
So you can know that there's a there's a neighborhood that was built 15 years ago, and say the average time that an AC unit lasts is about 15 years. So then you can go and say, okay, well, I want to target this neighborhood because I know all the houses were built within this span.
Right.
So these people are about due for a new AC unit.
Same would apply to a roof, which would be a whole lot better if you know that's going to happen, that there's going to be certain neighborhoods that are going to be requiring roofing. You can target them in advance with the marketing. as opposed to showing up on my doorstep with a 5-gallon bucket with your company name on it. Now, I kept the bucket. It was a good bucket.
Yeah.
Had a fancy handle and everything, but I'm not calling the guy.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
don't remember. It's in my house right now. I have no idea what the name of the company is. But if I was hearing the brand repeated to me through the radio stations I listen to, or if I had started looking at home repair and it was showing up in my social media feeds, et cetera, or getting targeted ads, then that would make a difference. And then I would start to remember who they were, as opposed to a one-stop drop thing.
Exactly.
One thing about the roofing right now, a lot of insurance companies are sending letters to homeowners if their home is over 15 years that they won't cover them unless they get a new roof. So even more of a reason to be targeting these neighborhoods that are 15 years or older because they need you. And once they get that letter, then that need becomes immediate because they're going to get dropped by the insurance unless they take action. So on like my community page, that comes up all the time. Like, hey, just got the letter. I got the dreaded insurance letter. So everybody in my neighborhood is getting a new roof right now. So if somebody's not in that game and they haven't been targeting my neighborhood, they're missing out. And by the way, not every one of these roofs that are going on is from the same company. There's different ones. So different players are getting in there.
I was going to
But
ask
if somebody
the very thing.
markets the right way, they do a good job when they get in there, they can monopolize that neighborhood and do everybody's roof.
Right. No, that's a fantastic way to put it. You know, I want to do something, see if we can do this a little different, because we have more questions I want to get into, like if you're doing some advertising, how long should you expect it to be before a target customer might reach out to you, for example, in the automotive space? Can you guys stick around for the rest of the half hour? Can we break here and you guys stick around and do another segment?
Sure.
Would you? Okay,
Yeah,
we're speaking
sounds
with
good.
Jay Mulligan, who's our general sales manager here at Beasley Media Group, and Ali Ahmed, who is our director of digital at Beasley Media Group. Welcome back to Tampa Bay Today on Money Talk 1010 a.m. I am Schreiner. We are having our business roundup discussion, which is going so well, and we're getting so much information from Ali Ahmed, who is our director of digital at Beasley Media Group, as Jay Mulligan, who's usually the chatty Cathy on the other side of the room with me, who is sitting back and watching it happen. So this is what we want to do, bring in various professionals from other aspects of Beasley Media Group, how we can do our marketing, our business branding, advertising to help you with your business. And Ali here, which we are live on Facebook as well, the Money Talk 1010 Facebook page. Before the break, I mentioned that I wanted to get into some of the questioning about when you're marketing, whether it's on the radio, digital, actually probably in your best interest doing all of that and more. How long until you are able to convert a customer from being in the market to being an actual customer and responding to what you're doing and using your product or service? I mentioned automotive, but I know there are other things that you deal with. I don't even know how to quite phrase that question. Is there an expected time frame for some of these different businesses?
Yeah, so it completely depends on the industry. So you talked about automotive. So the average time for that is 89 days, right? So for those 89 days, you want to make sure that you're doing everything leading up to it. So people are researching what brand to buy, what dealership to go to of those, all those different brands. They're doing over 9 hours of research on average when they're trying to figure out what kind of car to buy. So in that case, you want to make sure that you're hitting them in all those research points.
I'm not that guy. I'm like, my car broke down, the differential's out. That's beyond my capability to YouTube and fix. I need to buy a car now.
Yeah.
So I'm in a different perspective. But a lot of people, when they're getting to that point, they know their car if they're smarter. And there are times in my life when I have done that. Having a family, it's time to get rid of this vehicle, get a vehicle. And so I have done it on occasion.
Yeah.
But usually I try to drive a car till it's dead in the water. So that's me. But you're seeing 89 days in the market usually?
Yep, the average is 89 days. So in that time, again, you're trying to figure out what brand do I want to go with. Do I want to go with Toyota, or do I want to go with Honda or Lexus, or what am I trying to decide? And as I'm doing that research, I want to make sure that I'm getting followed by the ads, right?
How do you, as the director of digital, knowing that that's how that's one of the patterns in that particular business space, automotive, how do you capitalize on that for our customers, the car dealerships, everything from the used lots, the buy here, pay here, up to the huge dealers that we have all over Tampa Bay?
Yeah, so we have a lot of information when people are researching those cars, right? So they're searching for specific keywords. Maybe they're looking at difference between a Toyota and Honda. What car is best for a family, the best safety ratings, all of those different things. So based on what people are actively going in and searching for, now we know that they're a qualified person for your dealership.
Okay.
So we can go in, now we're going to have them, we can do it with SEM, so that's pay-per-click Google ads. So if they search for something specifically, your ad will pop up right there with your website. They go straight there. But then we also make sure that we follow them because now we know that they search for something, right? So if somebody searched for Toyota, that's all we need, and then we can start following them for however many days with your dealership's information.
So you can set the number of days you choose to follow somebody that responded?
Yep, absolutely, because you want the data to always be fresh.
Okay.
So typically we keep it within that 30-day window.
Okay, and then you stop following. So that's why. So I don't need to go in there after I've done a search for a baby shower for a friend. I don't need to go in there and start searching for motorcycles and camping equipment to get it back onto my algorithms. After about 30 days, they'll go like, he's done with that.
Yeah, it will be there.
All right. Well, I've been putting in a lot of extra effort to make sure that after I search for something that's not me, whether for a girlfriend or a child's friend's birthday or whatever, that I'm not getting American Girl doll ads, for the rest of my life. I actually went in and I would search for my stuff to try and change that. And so it worked, but it would naturally happen anyway over time as I stopped looking for specifics.
Yeah, exactly. Because you want to have a fresh audience. You want people who are actively engaged and searching for it. So you don't want to get people who are outside of the market. So we try to keep it within that 30-day window. Now, if they search again, now you know they're still interested. So it refreshes in that way.
Right. So we've moved, like with the automotive, you said it's an average of almost 3 months, like 89 days. Retail's a whole lot faster. You're talking 30 days. But give us an example there in retail and how that turns around. Another one.
Yeah, so if you have a retail product, I mean, usually if it's lower priced, it's a lot easier for the consumer to get their mind around, okay, I can just purchase this right then and now. Right. They might do a little bit more research. They might go on your website, figure out what it's about. They might look at some other competitors and decide, okay, this is the brand I want to go with. But you inform them of the product and they say, okay, this is what I need. A good example is I see my wife all the time. She'll be scrolling on Facebook or Instagram. She'll see an ad like a product, buy it right then and there. So that's a much quicker turnaround than a 90 days.
And you really can't go in there and take the credit card information out. She knows it.
Oh, she's got it. She's a pro.
Well, it's hers. I mean, that's the thing. There are times that I've done that as well, that something would be advertised to me, and I'm like, wow, that happened recently with some language software that I became interested in. I wasn't looking for it, but when I saw their offer, I immediately was like, I need this.
Yeah.
So it does happen. What about looking past click attribution? So explain what click attribution is and how that plays into the marketing space that you work within in digital.
Yeah, sure. So last click attribution is essentially you're looking only at the last source of where people clicked from to get to your site, right? So, sometimes when people are advertising, they ask people, well, where did you hear us from? Or they look at their Google Analytics and they just see the last click. So people could have heard you on the radio.
Right.
Then, seen your ad on Facebook, seen your ad on Instagram. They could have, went to YouTube, seen a pre-roll video ad there. But then they did a Google search and they clicked on your pay-per-click ad.
Right.
So now the last click attribution is only pay-per-click. But there were so many other things
that you did to become aware of the brand.
Yeah, you would have never got to the pay-per-click ad. You would have never done that search without all of those other things that influenced your decision to go in and actively search for this thing.
Right, because it's happened all the time where I would be other.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be any of the things they thought that I found it in. It would be, whether it's word of mouth, radio, television, newspaper, print, or it may have been that I just happened to drive by and I saw the store on the street.
Yeah.
And that's how my last... It wasn't last click. It was my first impression of them was from there. So there's all kinds of different ways that you can be found. So you shouldn't rely on that necessarily as the one metric that worked for you.
Right.
It's really a combination. So we're back to the beginning. It's a culmination of all these various types of advertising and marketing that we can do with the experts that we have here at Beasley Media Group to make sure that your brand, your product, your service, whatever it is that you're trying to give to the Tampa Bay community has the opportunity to get that awareness and develop.
Yep, exactly.
And I want to hammer this one again, Jay, because we talked about this when we were dealing with the recession conversations. And I had somebody recently that I spoke to about this in a real-life situation, how they're like, yeah, things are slowing down, we're going to pull back our marketing. And I'm like, oh, okay, so you're going to leave that space open for your competitor to step in and become brand aware in your area. And he just was like, hold that thought. And he went to talk to a business partner. So those are important things that we need to be aware of. What else have I missed in the digital department? Is there anything else that you would like people to know about how to work with digital?
Yeah, I mean, I think you've kind of hit it on it a couple of times, but it's an essential part of everything that you do. Everything works together. I think marketing is more of an art than an exact science. So it's really figuring out that plan of how do you push the levers? How do you increase the levels to get it to the right point where you need it to be? But as we just talked about, all of these different things work together to influence that last decision. So you can't just look at it from a perspective of recency bias with the consumer, where they're just saying, yeah, this is the last thing I saw, this is how I came here, because it's not the case. So, all those things work together to influence each other. You just need to be sure that you're in front of people, that you're having the frequency, so when they're ready for what you have to offer, that you're the first person who comes to mind.
All right, now, I want to bring this back to our general sales manager, Jay Mulligan, on the other side of the room. How do you guys best work together? I mean, you have to coordinate campaigns between on-air and digital and event marketing. How much time do you guys spend knocking on each other's door?
No, it's multiple times a day, and it's usually individual based on the client.
Okay.
So an account executive will have a client that they're looking to put a campaign together for.
Right.
Usually they already gathered a lot of information, so we can start brainstorming. And then myself and the account executive will bring Ali into it, and then we'll build a proposal that includes multiple tactics and platforms that we have.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's just so much to encompass, so this is why we're going to continue these conversations. You are definitely going to be coming back, Ali, because I love what you had to say and share with everybody, and it's a whole nother dynamic that a lot of people, and that's the thing about this station and the things that we are going to continue to do with this conversation that we just had. We mentioned we got all the cameras and everything in here because we're going to repurpose this so that people can find this information. We are actually kind of in a double business here. I've always seen that here in radio. Most people think that, your business, you play music, or, I did that for a lot of years, or you're doing the talk and the news and the shows. But our real business is also helping the businesses of Tampa Bay or wherever your market is advertise their product. We make money that way. We don't get paid to play music. That's an expense for us. We make money off of the advertiser. Now, how does that work for everybody? We have to have the right advertisers with the right message for the right consumer, which is you listening for the entertainment or the news value. So we want to make you happy with the programming. We want to make sure we bring the right clients to you and that you connect with those clients as well. And then they keep coming back to us, and then everybody ends up being in this wonderful symbiotic relationship. So it's really important, and that's one of the great things about Beasley Media Group. Everybody works really well together, and we all love our jobs, and we're all very good at the very specific aspects of the career that we fell into. So, Ali, I'll learn more about you today than I have in the last 6 months. I appreciate you coming in. I definitely want you to come back, so start thinking about other topics, because I know you're going to walk out of here going, should have mentioned that. Well, you have an open door here. Jay, thank you so much for coming in as well. I appreciate it.
Awesome.
Pat, that's right. We'll be right back and continue the show. It is a Friday edition of Tampa Bay Today at Money Talk 10 a.m. We'll find a food story for you, Pat, somewhere. Yes, that'll make him happy.